Hi, Mr. T here. I'm just doing a quick run through in doing another tower assembly or turret assembly for the game here. So the one that I got right now, the objects were made in Unity themselves as just regular 3D objects, just spheres and cylinders. Okay, so that one's pre-made already. It's got an empty game object as the main object, a turret assembly at ground level. It's got a base object. It's got the turret itself. It's got a barrel, and it's got a laser right at the end of the barrel. If I click on the turret itself as an object on its pivot locally, if I hit the E key, I can aim that turret. And we'll be aiming the turret, but we'll be doing it via scripting. Okay, so I'm just going to undo that. And I'll make another assembly, but I'll use Pro Builder objects for this one. Okay, so I'm just going to collapse that one. And I'm just going to deselect. And I'm going to just do Game Object, Create Empty. Get the Move tool. And I'll just bring it forward more so you can see it. Okay, so that's a totally empty game object. Right now it's 2 meters above the ground. So I'm going to hit 0 on the Y and just double click on that game object again to frame it. So there it is there, sitting all by itself at ground level. Next thing I'm going to do is do a turret base, but like I said, I'll do it in Pro Builder instead. So I'm going to go New Shape. Got my shape window here. The last thing I created was the barrel for another one of these. I'm not going to use pipe. I'm going to just use cylinder. And the last time I made a cylinder, it was for a base for a turret. So it's basically giving me what I did last time. I don't want this high a base this time though. So I'm just going to go, I'm going to say 0.75. And then when I hit enter, it builds. And I've got that as an object. So I've got empty game object. I've got base object cylinder. So I'm going to name the empty game object. I'm going to name that turret assembly. But I've already got a turret assembly and I'm modeling them in a different way. So I'm going to name this one turret assembly 2. And then the cylinder, that's going to be my turret base. So I'm going to name that turret base. And I'm going to drag and drop that on top of turret assembly 2. So it becomes a child of turret assembly. So later on when I'm done, I'll be able to duplicate the turret assembly, move it wherever I want, and the other parts will come with it. Okay. And I'm going to add some color to this, but I'm going to do them all at once when I'm done the basic assembly. So here's turret base. Now what I want to do is I want to add a sphere on as the turret on top of that. So I'm going to go click New Shape. I'm going to change it to sphere. Use subdivisions. Should be okay. Might want it a little bigger. I'm going to say 0.5. Okay, and then bring it up. Okay, so the thing with this sphere is we want it to be a child of turret assembly, but we don't want it to be a child of the base. We want to be able to work with it separately. So I'm making it a child of turret assembly, and then I'm going to reset its position and then drag it up so it's now in the center. And I'm dragging it up high enough so that it's, sorry, hang on a sec, so that it's pivot local is pointing out, and the barrel is not going to be affected by the base. Okay. And then the last visible object that we need a barrel for our turret gun. So again, I'm going to go to Pro Builder again. I'll do new polish shape. This time I'm going to do a pipe. And it just so happens that the last thing I built was a barrel for a turret. So that's pretty much what I want. It's got a radius of 0.1, a height of 1 meter. And if you want a shorter barrel, that's fine. Change it and you can make a shorter barrel. I like the longer one, so I'm just going to delete this. Okay, so the trick with the barrel part is it needs to be a child of the sphere, the turret object. So, and it needs to be pointing in the direction of the turret. So I can't just drag it in and have it pointing out the top of the turret. That won't work. When the turret is aiming, it's going to aim its blue handle at whatever we tell it to aim at. Okay, so that pipe needs to be rotated. So I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. And then I can go and I can make it a child of the sphere. And I can reset its position, not rotation, position. And it's now a child of the sphere, and I can drag it out. Now all of this setup here, it's working because I'm using pivot local as the main setting here. The settings for what the handles are that I'm seeing. And so it's all the rotation. If I rotate the local object, the local sphere, what it's doing is it's pivoting locally. So I want to make sure that I do that. So isosphere, I've got its pivot local showing. The barrel is pointing out visually, but the blue handle is pointing down. Okay. So then the last object that we're going to see isn't normally visible until we fire. So I'm going to go onto the pipe. So what we want to do is to have an object right at the end of the barrel where the laser beam is going to fly out of or appear from. But if I attach it to the pipe, then forward for it is going to be down the blue handle. Don't want that. So I want it to be pointing in the direction that isosphere is pointing at. So I make a child of isosphere, and I'll just name that laser. So when I made it a child, then it's a child of made at the pivot local for the sphere. So it's there, and I just move it forward. So when I'm dragging it only by the blue handle. And that ensures that the laser is pointing exactly in the same direction as the sphere itself. And then on that laser, I do add component, line renderer. And you can see by default, it appears in the world view. So that's 0, 0 in my world position. Well, we don't want world position. So I'm going to just scroll down. So there's a checkbox to use world space. No. Uncheck. Now it's appearing at the end of the laser. And we don't want it to be 1 meter wide. So I'm going to say 0, 0, 2, enter. Okay, so my barrel's kind of wide, so I'm going to say 0.06 instead. That gives me a fatter laser, and it matches the size of my barrel better. Okay, and just to notice about the laser, the line itself, it's a two-dimensional line. It's not a 3D object. So this is just a representation. There are other ways of doing laser beam shots, like creating a glowing cylinder that scales up when you want to fire a laser. That's another nice way of doing it. But we're prototyping, so just the little visual of a line is good enough. Okay, and so what we'll be doing in the game right now, by default, the line renderer has two positions. It has a starting position at 0, and it has a second position with a 1 meter shot range. Well, what we'll be doing, we'll be programmatically setting that range, and we can have your lasers fire as whatever distance you want them to fire. For now, I'm going to put that back to 0. Okay, colorizing. So if you make things in ProBuilder, they automatically will have the ProBuilder script on them. And you may, depending on what your settings are, you may have to change the material. I'm just going to click on my pipe here. So mine has the ProBuilder default, ProBuilder standard version vertex color material on it. If yours has the Unity standard shader on it, you need to go into Packages, ProBuilder, Resources, or Content, Resources, Materials, and you need to drag and drop the ProBuilder material on as a component. I've already got it, so I don't need to. Okay, and then I can go in the ProBuilder window. It applies the color based on faces. So if I go to the face selection, click on a face, I can tell it to grow selection. If I click it a few times, it will get the outside. Shifts, click on a face on the front, one on the front. If it will let me, one on the front and one on the inside. Grow selection again. And everything that I can see is now selected. Click on the vertex color options. I'm just going to drag the palette out here where you can see it. So I'm going to make that barrel black. And then I'm going to select on the dome, grow selection. Gives me the whole dome. I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it orange. On the base itself, grow selection gives me the outside. Shift click on a face. Grow selection again gets me the top. And I'm going to apply this brown color to it. Okay, so there's my second version of a turret assembly. Okay. Don't duplicate these yet. We're going to add scripting onto it. So, and what we'll do is we'll make a prefab out of it. It's like a piece of 3D clip art, and you'll be able to make as many turrets and place them wherever you want in the scene. But so don't duplicate them yet. It'll just make more work for you later on. Okay, that's it for now. I'll get this up on the Teams site, and that's it for now. Bye.